Taylor.
And this is Shiner. And welcome to That 70s House. We bought this house a few months ago. It was built in 1974, and we have plans for tons of renovations and thought it would be fun to do a house tour video and document everything as we go.
Yeah, so we'll start off with kind of going in the front door, and then we'll walk around the house and kind of explain each room, the couple of things we've done so far, and then what our kind of overall goals and plans are for the rest of the house. So one of the first things that made us fall in love with this house is actually the neighborhood. So we're fortunate enough to have a very small neighborhood. It's basically one kind of circle-shaped street. We are all the way at the end of the circle, so we don't get much drive-by traffic at all. Which is night and day from our old house, which was on a very busy street, kind of around a blind corner, and people would go screeching tires by our house all the time, and that got really old, as you would imagine. So we love how kind of secluded we are. Because this neighborhood was originally built in the early to mid 70s, there's a lot of kind of tall established trees. I think they're like live oak and a couple of other types of trees. So they build this kind of nice shaded canopy over a lot of people's yards. Which is great on hot Texas summer days. We can have some extra shade, and then we don't have little baby trees planted 2 years ago. We have nice big trees, so we're in love with that. That also creates a really nice kind of front porch and front, I guess, yard for us as well. Which you want to talk about kind of what our plans are for the front porch and what we've done so far?
Yeah, so we have a huge front porch, which is something that we both loved about the house, compared to our old house where we had just a tiny little entryway where there wasn't even enough space to put a pot with flowers in it. Now we have a huge porch, and so I've been having a lot of fun adding new plants and a little bench to that. We are planning on hanging a swing as well, which will be really fun. And so far out there, we've really just pressure washed, and that actually made it look so much brighter, just for years. No one had lived in this house before we bought it, so everything just needs a little love. So yeah, we've been enjoying the porch and look forward to being able to utilize that space a little more in the fall, since we're in Austin, Texas, and it's about 100 degrees here currently.
Yeah, another thing that when she mentioned brighten it up, it made me kind of think of it, is we also really want to add some lights out there too, because we are so secluded out here. There's a couple of street lights, but not a whole lot. So at night it is very dark out there. So if you get out of the car at night and your headlights turn off, it's pretty darn hard to see where you're going. So we'd like to kind of line the pathway with some lights, and maybe get some lights that kind of shine up into the trees. And then also we're excited about decorating for the holidays as well, and kind of wrapping the trees and getting a bunch of decorations. We really didn't get to do that at our old house, so it's something we're excited to do this year.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So another thing that we really liked about this house is the double doors that we have for our front door. So as soon as you walk in, you can see into our living room, and our house has a ton of stone in it. So there's a stone wall kind of immediately when you walk in. There's one to your right, and then also one in front of you. And despite it being a fairly large entryway, all the stone and the dark floor make it feel very dark. So we do like some of the stone and think it adds a cool element and has a lot of character. So we don't want to get rid of all of it, but we'll probably get rid of the wall right when you walk into your right, or not get rid of it, but take the stone off, maybe.
Yeah, paint it or cover it with some kind of, I don't
something
know,
white
shiplap kind of situation. I don't know, something to tone it down a little bit, because it's pretty dark right when you walk in.
Yeah, it needs to be brightened up. And then our floors to have potential to be cool. They're these pretty big green octagon tiles that unfortunately the previous owners didn't take very good care of the floor and put layers and layers of some type of lacquer or polyurethane
or
on top of it. And so we have spent multiple hours talking to professionals about how to get that off, and have a few things we're going to be testing out and hopefully documenting in videos soon. But we really hope that those clean up well, because all the layers of lacquer make the green floors incredibly dark. So if we can get that cleaned up, it'll brighten up the floor a lot.
So when you first walk in the door, you can actually see into the living room where we are now. It's a couple of steps down. It's maybe about a foot lower than the rest of the house, which is pretty cool because it gives you this kind of more cozy feel. We also have, I guess you consider this a vaulted ceiling, that has some beams in it. So the beams are just white now with popcorn ceilings, and you'll see throughout this entire house we have a lot of popcorn ceilings. 4,000 square feet of popcorn ceilings to scrape off, actually. The beams, like I said, they're white right now, so we're probably going to either wrap them in some kind of wood, maybe a cedar or something like that. We thought about maybe trying to strip them off and bring them back to an original wood and maybe stain them. We have plenty of wood color right now on the paneling. The paneling is going to go. We're going to pull it off at some point, hopefully revealing a nice smooth wall behind it that we can paint. Just kind of flip-flop, so there'll be a little bit more darker wood color on this ceiling, but a white or off-white colored wall, so it'll kind of tone down some of what we have going on in here. We'd also like to eventually replace the carpet in here, maybe go with a hardwood or something, but that's a little bit further down the road. Behind us, we have kind of two built-ins. So there's the big built-in right behind me that is actually technically a gun rack. Because we're in Texas, so why wouldn't it be? But we've turned it into more of like a bookshelf and kind of display cabinet, and then we can kind of store some stuff underneath, board games or whatever we want in there. A little bit next to that is going to be the fireplace, which we're really excited about because our last house we didn't even have a fireplace at all. Actually, we looked at some old pictures of when it was listed like 10 years before we owned it, and apparently there was a fireplace. And they decided to just build a wall in front of it and cover it up. So we did not have access to the fireplace. So we're excited to have that. Not that it gets all that cold here, but decorating for Christmas time and stuff with our stockings and everything, it'll be cool to have that. Which leads us to a problem of trying to figure out where to put the TV. I am kind of partial to wanting to mount it on top of the fireplace. This one's not so excited about that because it can kind of look tacky if it's not done right. So we'll try to figure out what makes sense as far as where we want to put the TV. Just to the right of the TV is kind of a bookshelf that we're not totally in love with, so we'll probably end up kind of tearing that out and making it look a little bit more official, kind of a little bit more like this one maybe, so it matches a little bit. But you want to talk about the bar and what we want to do with that?
Yeah, another really interesting feature of this house is that it has a bar in the living room, which is fun, but also the current setup of it is super dated, and we'd like to keep the idea of a bar but do a really pretty backsplash up that wall and a cool sconce, and then make the shape of the bar a little more modern because it's very angular and is kind of like a hexagon or octagon shape right now, and has carpet underneath it, so making drinks over there over carpet seems a little iffy. So we're hoping to figure out something cool to do there. And another thing we really love about the living room are the windows. We have 6 of these massive, 6-foot windows?
Probably at least 5 by 5.
That, let in a ton of natural light and are single pane except pane. Except for one that was replaced at some point with a window that does not match the others. So that's on our to-do list, is to figure out how to get a window to replace that one so that they're all similar to one another and there's not an awkward framed window kind of breaking it up.
It'll probably make sense when we do that to honestly probably replace all of them because like Allie just mentioned, they are single pane windows, which can be kind of dangerous if somebody were to like fall into it or a kid throws a ball or whatever. They're not like modern safety glass kind of dual pane windows. So it probably makes sense to replace them all. That's just going to be quite expensive to do. So we'll get around to kind of pricing that out. I think 1 or 2 might already be kind of 2 panes. So I don't know. It probably makes sense for us to just look into making sure that they all match and that they're kind of as safe as possible so we don't have a golden retriever running through a huge plate glass window.
So when you walk in the house, there's also a hallway to the left that leads to 2 guest rooms, a powder room, and then a Jack and Jill bathroom between the 2 guest rooms. The powder room is fine. It's not very exciting. It has popcorn ceilings, of course, just like the rest of the house, and incredibly textured walls. They're much more textured than the rest of the house, which we're not really sure.
Yeah, actually, all of the
Why?
bathrooms have very textured walls. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that was a thing in '74 was to go crazy with the texture on the walls, but only in the bathrooms.
Imperfections,
Right.
yeah. But the previous owners had replaced the flooring in there, so it's pretty cheap vinyl wood flooring. So at some point we do want to redo that bathroom and do a cool statement tile and maybe some wallpaper and just have more fun with it since it's a smaller space that we're not in all the time. We can play around a little more there.
I'd love to punch a hole in the wall and have, not physically, but like, and have like a portal window or something like that, because the back wall of that bathroom is an exterior wall. So to have a nice kind of frosted, maybe circular window or something would be cool to have some natural light in there, because it's a bit like a closet at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we have 2 guest bedrooms right now. One, there's, some furniture thrown in there, isn't really being used. It has a window onto the front porch. So we have some curtains up right now just to add a little privacy, but haven't really spent too much time on that room yet. We've only had 1 guest and they stayed in our other guest bedroom, so that one's a little more put together. Once again, just popcorn ceilings everywhere. It has a nice big window into the backyard. So we've, thrown up some curtains there as well, but would like to do something more custom at some point. And then the bathroom that they share, that those 2 bedrooms share, is super textured ceilings and wall. Has a pretty dated tile in the shower and bathtub. Also a really low window, so we feel bad for any guests that are going to have to take a shower in there and look at our neighbor David and wave while they're shampooing their hair. But yeah, it's a decent sized bathroom and nothing majorly wrong with it.
So that pretty much covers the left side of the house when you walk in. So if you were to turn right when you first walk in, kind of around that dark stone wall we talked about, that's what goes into our dining room area. So the dining room area is pretty decent. There's a nice big window that also goes out to that front porch. We'll want to put a new light fixture in there, and then obviously when we change that dark stone wall, that'll kind of help brighten up that space a lot. It does share that same hexagon green tile. It basically goes from the foyer all the way through the dining room, the breakfast area, the kitchen, and then the small hallway that goes to the master bedroom. So there's quite a bit of that tile for us to get in there and get on our hands and knees and scrub and try and restore. But for the most part, the dining room doesn't really need much other than lightening up that wall and a new light fixture.
So moving from the dining room kind of towards the kitchen, we have a breakfast nook area. That's just a small little corner with a nice big window where we have a table set up. For now, we don't really use the space, but just styled it as a breakfast nook.
Awful lighting fixture in there.
Awful lighting fixture, so we'll be replacing that. And then moving into the kitchen, this has been the bane of our existence.
Pretty much.
It's really something.
It's the worst.
Yeah, before we even moved in, we had to spend hours cleaning the cabinets, taking all the doors and drawers out and priming and painting everything. We don't know what the previous owner did to those cabinets, but they were in really rough shape. We would love to redo our entire kitchen at some point, but right now we've done a few projects just to make it a usable space and a little more, make it a little nicer for us to be in there and actually want to cook. So what have we done besides painting the cabinets?
Yeah, so we tore apart the cabinets, which also led us into the big stone archway. It was originally just more dark stone. So we went ahead and scrubbed that with heavy duty degreaser because it was so sticky and dusty. So we actually bought this house from the original owner. So even though it was built in the mid 70s, we're actually the second owners of the house, which is really cool, except for those owners, I guess over time stopped kind of taking care of certain things. The tile being one, and the other would be the kitchen. I say they would just kind of let it go. So there was just cooking grease and stuff just stuck to all the stone. So we had to scrape all of that off, primed it, sealed it, painted it. So that brightened up everything quite a bit. We also had to remove the countertop, and then there was two like 70s electric cooktops in there. So we had to like peel those up, and I say peel because there's literally like gunk sticking them to the countertop. So we put some gloves on, we peeled those up, took out the granite that was around it, and then replaced it with just an IKEA butcher block that we cut, and then a more modern electronic cooktop for now. Eventually we want to put in a gas cooktop. We don't have natural gas to the house, so we're going to have to get like an external propane tank or something like that to be able to have gas. But we both prefer to cook on gas over electric. It just wasn't kind of that high up on the priority list to do that just yet. Whenever we do the full kitchen renovation, that'll be part of it when we put in either like a professional series like gas range or at least a gas cooktop on there.
Mm-hmm. We also put in a new dishwasher. The house didn't come with a dishwasher, so we felt very adult-like buying our first dishwasher. And one feature too that we're excited to, now that we know that the popcorn ceilings don't have asbestos and we can tackle it ourselves, we want to deal with the light fixture that's in the kitchen because it is massive. It's almost as big as the entire kitchen, just a super dated rectangular
fluorescent light.
Fluorescent thing. So we're excited to figure out something for that. And then the floors, once again, those dirty floors. We have an area where we had somebody come out and test a few different really intense chemicals, and he ended up getting a small section cleaned up really nicely, but told us that it was going to be a ton of work for him and his team, and that he would like to politely decline the job, but
it just straight up opted out. He was like, no,
we want to pay you.
It's not amount of like what it's going to cost. It's no, we're not interested in doing this job. You're on your own. So.
Yeah, but he did send us a picture of the stripper and chemicals that he used, so we bought some on our own and are going to be slowly but surely, hopefully, tackling the rest of the floor. That'll help the kitchen a lot too, because when we painted the cabinets, we kind of left the baseboards alone, knowing that we were hopefully going to fix the flooring. And since we're going to be using a heavy-duty stripper, it probably would have just pulled the paint off the baseboards if we'd gone ahead and painted those. So as soon as we get our floor done, we can finish our painting and have a usable and, decent kitchen that's not too much of an eyesore until we're ready to kind of redo the whole thing.
So just off the kitchen, there is a small hallway that goes to our master bedroom, and then there's a little doorway that goes into the laundry room. So the laundry room is a pretty decent size. It does have a little utility sink in there now. Eventually we'd like to kind of tear that utility sink and countertop out and put in a dog washing tub. Because I'm sure you have noticed we have our huge golden retriever that just kind of a pain to wash him in a regular tub. So we thought it would be pretty cool to have like a designated area that we could kind of scrub him and hose him down. So
he loves baths too.
Yeah, he would be totally into it. So we want to build that at some point. Eventually we have like grand dreams of turning that into a hallway and moving the laundry room and all of that kind of stuff, but that's going to be a couple of years down the road probably when we want to start to mess with maybe the floor plan of the house, because as you go through the laundry room you go into what used to be the garage, but what is now Allie's office. So.
And it is huge. It's about 400 square feet, and right now I don't really use it for much, just storage for a bunch of cool antique and vintage things that I've collected over the years. Taylor would love for me to turn it into a game room with a pool table and shuffleboard, which we'll see, but
she's coming along with the idea.
For now though, I'm using it as an office, and it's massive. Like Taylor said, it used to be the garage, and has a French door leading out to the front of the house, which is convenient. And then it has a huge closet off of it too. Actually, 2 closets, so I have more than enough space for all my things. And then if you walk through my office, you end up in Taylor's office.
Yeah, my office is kind of interesting because it was also added onto the house. So when they converted the garage into what is now Allie's office, the door was kind of on the side where my office is now. So that just opens up into another room. That it's kind of a strange layout right now, which is what leads us down that path of wanting to kind of change the floor plan in the future, because you have to go through one room to get to the other room. There's no like hallway that connects it. So that's what we want to change. But my office right now is still kind of empty. I just have like a desk where I edit my YouTube videos. So I have my own YouTube channel where I build classic cars and motorcycles. And I want to eventually build that into a space where it could hang out and could have a big TV and a couch and that kind of stuff in there. There is a stone wall in there as well that used to be an exterior wall, and you know that because there is still a hose outlet for for an external garden hose right in my office. So that's convenient. If I want to hose down my office, I have a spigot right there. And right through there is another door that actually leads out to the garage, which I have converted into a big shop, which is where I build all of my bikes and the cars. So we'll kind of show off that a little bit. I think we have some clips of it. Basically, there was a room in the back part of the garage that was originally just kind of a paneled 16 by maybe 30 room that I have no idea what they used it for originally. It had a door to it from the garage and also another door from our master bedroom. I don't know if they used it for an office or whatever, but we got in, we don't have any use for that room. I obviously had use for a bigger garage, so we actually tore out that wall, put a beam in, and kind of opened it up. So now that the garage is about 20 feet wide and 50 feet deep. Which is about 3.5 times the size of the old garage. So I'm loving having the new shop. I put in a bunch of new like LED lights and everything. So I do a lot of my work out there, and yeah, I'm excited to have it. Eventually, and we'll go into detail on this probably in another video when we do more of the exterior of the house, but we do actually own the lot next door as well. And I'll be building a big metal shop that's kind of designated for just my car and motorcycle stuff out there, so we can kind of get that away from the main house and have it be a little bit separate for noise and fumes and all that kind of stuff. Allie would prefer it to be disconnected from the house. So that's the plan eventually.
Yeah, and one more quirk of the new garage slash shop is that since, as Taylor mentioned, he expanded into that kind of awkward room that was only accessible from the garage and the master. Now you can see from the garage into the master bathroom because, back when the house was originally built, the master bathroom was on an exterior wall and had kind of a normal, like, above the shower window. But the previous owners added on that awkward room, and then now that it's part of the garage, when you're taking a shower, you can just look out the window into the garage. So,
which is great when I'm out there working and Allie needs to take a shower. So it's like a nice view to have right through the window. But I don't think she appreciates having that.
No, it's awkward. So when you're coming out of the kitchen, you pass the laundry room on the right, and then if you keep going straight, you'll walk right into our master bedroom, which is a really decent size. It's a pretty big room. We do have the popcorn ceilings in there, of course, so we'll be taking that down. We have a pretty big window, which we would love to turn into a screened-in porch and have some nice French doors so we can go hang out in the morning and drink our coffee there. Right now we have a door that leads into the garage, as Taylor mentioned, so we've locked that door up and kind of taped around the perimeter of it to avoid having fumes coming into the bedroom. But yeah, eventually would like to have Taylor's shop be completely separate from the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, it brings us into the bathrooms for that. So that door, what we want to eventually do is when that shop is built and separate, I'd like to have us build the back half of the shop into a proper master bath. That way, one, we lose this weird door that accesses a garage from a master bedroom, because that's weird and you're not even supposed to have that, I don't think. So we'll build that to a nice big bathroom, and then the existing bathroom we can kind of tear out some of the walls. It also solves that problem of having a window from your shower into the garage. So we can get rid of that as well and then reconfigure some of those. So when you go into our master bathroom right now, it's kind of built as a his and hers bathrooms, which I guess was kind of popular in the 70s. So there's like a main, I guess, changing area in the center. There is a closet to your right and a closet to your left. And then there's also a full bathroom with a sink, a toilet, and a shower on your right and on your left. So we just primarily use the one on the left because it's a little bit nicer and the vanity's bigger and it just kind of makes more sense to use that one. The one on the right is what I imagine was his bathroom, and it has just like a closet, very dark shower, and it's kind of an awkward layout. So in the future, we'd like to probably wall that one off, build access to it from the other side, and that way what is my office and then Allie's office could eventually actually be considered bedrooms if they had a kind of a hallway where you wouldn't have to walk through one to get to the other one, and then that could be the bathroom for those two bedrooms. So we can kind of reconfigure that section of the house to turn into a hallway, one proper full bath, and then two bedrooms, as opposed to now, because we don't need a his and her bathroom, especially when we build the new big one in what is now the shop. So the last part of the house we want to talk about is the backyard. So the backyard is really big, especially because the lot the house was built on is a half an acre, and then the lot that we own next door is another half an acre. So we have a full acre that goes all the way to the end of the street and kind of around the corner. So on the left side of the house, there is access to the backyard actually from a door in the living room. So we'd like to kind of build up the fence. Right now it's just a small chain link fence. We'd like to have a full like 6, maybe even 8 foot, probably horizontal cedar fence. So that'll give us a little bit more privacy from our neighbor on the side here. And then eventually when we have kids and the guest rooms and stuff are all filled up, we thought it would be a really cool idea to have like a 70s Airstream that we build into a guest house. So we can kind of permanently, park it in the backyard in the corner, have a cool, like, maybe a stone walkway out to it, maybe even a little fire pit and stuff out there. We thought it would be cool to plant some like fruit trees, maybe some, lemon and lime trees, something like that. She really wants to get an olive tree. So we thought that would be really cool, and it would be a nice place for our guests to stay. It would match the theme of the house because 70s house, 70s Airstream. So we thought that would be pretty cool idea. So a little bit further down is where you get to kind of the dead center of the backyard. And that's where you access it through the kitchen kind of breakfast area. So eventually it'd be nice to kind of change that window in one door to maybe some like big French doors or something that go out to a deck. Right now there's just a couple of steps that go straight down to the backyard. It's like a couple of foot drop. So it's not real usable right now. We'd love to build a nice big, it'd probably end up being 20 feet deep by maybe even 30, 40 feet long, like a big deck out there. We could have some lights that go over it, a nice, big table, of course, barbecue and smoker and that kind of stuff. It would connect to the screened-in porch that Allie was talking about that would be right off of our master. So you'd be able to access that screened-in area, maybe a door from the deck and then another, the French door from our room. So that could be really cool. And then continuing, that way towards the right of the house is where you access our extra lot. In between the existing house and the shop that will eventually exist, we'd love to build a big pool. Because we're in Texas, we are fortunate enough to have, swimming season like 10 months out of the year. So we'd love to have a nice big pool. With these trees, we could have a pool that's actually almost completely covered by a canopy. So it would be, not just beating down sun on you all the time. We'd have to dig out a bunch of leaves out of the pool, but I think that would be worth it. So we'd love to have, just nice grass, a walkway out there where you can go to the pool and have, a fence that runs all the way to the shop and kind of all the way around. So we'd have, almost a full acre of kind of fenced in yard. So, future kids can run around, dogs can run around and kind of explore without ever having to actually leave our yard. So we're really excited about that because, again, another thing that we love about this house compared to our last house is the size of the yard and the privacy we have. Our old house was like 1/8 of an acre, and you walk out of the back door and you are immediately in like 3 other people's backyards at the same time. So we really want to take advantage of the privacy and the space we have here and put it to good use.
Yeah, that all sounds great. We're
Now we just have to do it.
now we just have to do it. I got a to-do list that's I don't know, like a few miles long, I guess, but we want to learn to do as much stuff ourselves rather than hiring people, unless, you know, something is a safety hazard. If we're doing it, then we'll reach out to a professional, but we want to document everything and share it with you guys. And
so keep that in mind as you watch our kind of future videos, is we are not claiming to be experts on teaching you how to do stuff. We're documenting us figuring out how to do it in hopes that you guys can kind of learn from some of our inevitable mistakes, and then hopefully get some enjoyment out of kind of watching us figure stuff out and watch the transformation of the house overall.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Our first couple projects are going to be the popcorn ceiling removal and cleaning up those floors. So stay tuned for some videos on hopefully wonderful transformations with those two things.
All right. Yep. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.